So an MSNBC host was stunned after key Donald Trump impeachment witness Gordon Sondland is now backing President Trump.
And after January 6th, we saw what Ms. Matthews did. Let's listen to where you drew a line in the sand.
Completely in, even with all of the foibles that everyone has already identified, and I don't need to go through them again, until January 6th. It was a no for me after that.
A no for you after that. Why was it important for you to say no more Trump because of his January 6th conduct, and do you stand by that?
No, I don't stand by it, and I'll tell you why.
Oh, shit. Oh, shit.
I've now lived 4 years under the Biden-Harris policies, and I have to say that those policies are not only becoming an existential threat to our country's way of life, but to our allies as well.
So when you,
and
Ambassador, this is, I'll let you finish, but this is so striking. You said it was a no for me after that, after January 6th.
I did.
And here we are right now.
I did.
And you're saying it's a yes for you.
It is a yes for me. It is an absolute yes for me. That is how badly the Biden-Harris team have prosecuted their job.
But the whole point you seem to be making was that January 6th and that kind of attack on democracy is bigger than any policy difference.
I am seeing so many attacks on democracy that eclipse January 6th.
So I want to ask Sarah.
If you want to ask me what those are, I'm happy.
Well, I'm not going to go Sarah in the back.
See you
but this is, I appreciate
Kamala Harris why she flip-flopped on 16 things.
Look, I appreciate everyone being here. Sarah, I'm curious your reaction to someone who, like you, has participated, and I say that positively, Ambassador. You, as a government official, were asked to testify, and you did. And then you drew a line at Jan 6. And then, Sarah, we see this with certain people, and I say it respectfully, who say that, he's at the table with you, and then tell us years later, never mind. Can you explain that, and what's your response to that?
A couple things I want to hit real quick.
You heard him. No, I don't stand by it.
Right.
This woman is so hellish, so bad. He has changed his mind.
Right. Yeah. It's interesting because you see how he went after him. Mm-hmm. Now Liz Cheney, she's reversed too, but she would be applauded for the direction that she reversed herself in. Right. They are so obviously, but again, they are not trying to hide their bias. They are telling us, they are showing us, and they have no shame. Again, I'm going to ask Americans, when is enough enough?
Hopefully people are starting to wake up.
I need people not just to wake up. I'm going to go 2 points. Going back to the clip before, what's going to happen if Biden-Harris, I forgot Biden was ousted and Kamala is where she's at without a single vote. So, but I digress, since we're not going to do this the democratic way that we're supposed to. Here we are. And if she gets in charge again, we're going to lose a lot of our constitutional freedom. So what I was shocked to see is that they let that video keep playing, because what we have noticed is all of a sudden audio drops out. Oh, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, there's a glitch. Instead, you saw the host say, oh, wait. He had to keep interjecting because he was so shocked. He didn't want him to go on and tell the reason why. Everybody's talking about, this is my truth. Let me speak my truth. Well, they're all okay with that as long as it's not the truth from somebody who's going to vote for Donald Trump. And to those polls, I tell everybody, I research the polls. I pull up, okay, well, where did you go? Who did you poll? How many people were there? Because I just don't trust that anymore. They're going to do anything they can to make sure that it looks like Kamala is winning, but clearly common sense is winning, and she does not have common sense. Right. So the people are winning.
Absolutely. And we're being told by, pundits and things that the polls are showing Kamala Harris is slightly up. But she and her campaign's antics and the way they have been moving as of late kind of, are starting to show otherwise. Now she's starting to do more interviews, more press. Before they didn't want to do it, but she's seeing that, out of many of these polls, people are saying, I don't know who the hell she is. I don't know anything about this woman. And so we're seeing that, you know, now they're starting to do more polls because I believe their interior polling is saying it's a much closer if Trump is up ahead. And so to that, we had Tim Walz actually did a Fox News interview. Can you believe it? He did a Fox News interview on Sunday, and it was a shit show.
Is there in Minnesota? Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that law goes far beyond Roe v. Wade.
To make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That has been debunked on every occasion. But
wait,
look, this is a.
But let's agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her healthcare providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of healthcare providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians, and we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
Wait, he
and
has
again,
said that
we don't see this as a winning campaign.
He has said repeatedly that he will not sign a national abortion ban. Are you calling that just, it's a flat out lie?
Yes, of course. And Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received, and she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pill. So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it.
So he was lying all throughout that interview. And thank God she was correcting him. Yeah. It is, you guys can look up the Minnesota a bill that she's referring to. I believe it's section 145.423. They have it where you can have an abortion up to 9 months in Minnesota. And they're probably going to try to make this countrywide. Shirley, what did you think about that exchange?
So I wanted to mention two things. Number one, the site that Shannon mentioned, abortionfinder.org. On that site, it even as leftist or progressive as that site is, even that site says and was talking about abortion in the United States in the third paragraph, it makes it clear that Roe being overturned, and I'm quoting, Roe being overturned is not the same thing as there being a federal ban on abortion. Right. Even on this site, it makes that clear. That's number one.
Wait. What do you mean? So can you break that down so people actually Roe being overturned and an abortion banned? Right.
Because they keep talking about abortion is banned and the Roe being overturned. The Supreme Court basically said there's no abortion. They're lying. This site, abortionfinder.org, even clarifies that just because it was overturned by the Supreme Court does not mean that abortion is banned like the Democratic Party and the left are insinuating. Now, what it does do, it put the onus, if you will, back into states' hands. Different states states have voted differently with their populations to quote unquote manage abortion, right? So every state may do it differently now. Some states are going to have more leeway. Some are going to be more restrictive. That's what has been done. The states had the power and control where it should have always been. That's number one. Number two, I would love for Amber Thurman's family to come out and put a cease and desist muzzle on the Democratic Party, on Kamala Harris, Tim Walz, because they are literally using this poor woman's name and her legacy in vain. Yes, she sought out an abortion. She took the pill, but the hospital and the medical personnel did not provide her the standard of care that anybody would have been able to receive and should have received, abortion or not. There is a standard of care that when you leave something in your body that is decaying or should not be there, this is why we have sterile procedures when you have surgeries, right? I mean, literally, the room is sterilized, the people sterilized. That this is why, because anything that you insert into your body that is not naturally there, or something that you might be removing that is there, but it's disintegrating and dying, needs to come out. And if it does not all come out, it will infect your body and your bloodstream, and we call it sepsis. So the standard of care for anybody could have gone to the emergency room if you had an abortion or did not, it does not matter. You should have been treated for sepsis and to remove the rest of those contents. The standard of care was not provided to her. That is what ultimately killed Amber Thurman.
Exactly. Michelle, shouldn't the story, the narrative here be that, whether you agree or disagree with abortion, it's dangerous. It is very dangerous. And we don't hear enough about it. Now, in this situation with Amber Thurman, yes, she did not get the care that she needed. But in the same way, these types of things are not talked about in the news media. These things happen. I interviewed a young lady who took those abortion pills and and it was too late, and she bled out in class. Had she not been taken to the emergency room in time, she would have died. This stuff is not talked about nearly enough. And instead of them talking about lies, they're trying to push lies that this woman didn't, have access to abortion and this is why she died. We should be talking about how, one, it's dangerous, and two, Planned Parenthood doesn't do ultrasounds before or after they do this type of thing, because they don't want these people to change their minds about getting an abortion.
And that's exactly what it is. It doesn't fit the narrative. So first thing, I need us to realize the ramifications of having Tim Walz in any kind of office, and even where he's at right now. Governor, I don't care. The word is yes. It's a very simple word. 3 letters. He could have just said, yes. Did you sign it? Yes. Did you read it? Yes. Maybe he didn't read it. I don't know. But to have a current vice president and her running mate who can't even admit to, yes, I signed it, or yes, that's what the bill says. Now, here in Maryland, we have the same bill coming down the pipeline to be added to our constitution, our state constitution, which is no limits up until the 9th month. And actually, really, the reality is infanticide, which means you had a due date. And if you go past your due date and you're still pregnant, you can make a decision to say, well, I'm going to terminate. These are outrageous. What we should be talking about is real women's health care, right? Which is taking care of them, the whole process, getting doctors to listen, making sure that you have insurance, making sure that hospitals that aren't doing right are facing consequences. There's so many other things that we could be doing for women's health, but that doesn't fit the narrative. And right now, apparently that doesn't buy the votes. And you're right, Shelley, I'm thinking, stop using her name and her story. And the family clearly have an issue with what they're saying, because they've already put out statements saying, just for clarification, this is why it happened. So that has to end.
Yeah. Tyrone, another thing we don't hear about are the men's voices in this abortion. Whether you agree or disagree, we never hear men have any type. Men are supposed to remain silent, is according to the left when it comes to abortion. But it does take two. You can't just have a baby by yourself. It's man's baby too. Do you agree or disagree with the idea that should men not have any type of say in this abortion?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And you said it takes two. Maybe on the left, maybe they don't understand that. They have some issues with biology. So I don't know, but absolutely, the man should be involved in the decision as to whether or not an abortion is going to take place. Also, pay attention to the Democrats don't really care about people. They just care about these issues that can march them up this ladder to help them maintain power. 0.5% of women in America, less than 1%, had abortions last year. Okay. But if you listen to the rhetoric around the issue, it's like you'd think it was 50%, right? Mm-hmm. Just like you would think every other person is a member of the LGBTQ community, all right? Because it's blown up to such a degree in media. The other thing about this is just from a policy standpoint, this is how you can tell the Democrats are simply using this as a wedge issue to gain and maintain power. If you are pro-choice, shouldn't you prefer 50 different solutions? That's choice. Mm-hmm. All right. Sure. You're going to get some states who are less liberal than others. I was talking to a friend of mine and she said, and I was telling her, I said, okay, so if this state doesn't do it, then if you absolutely positively must have an abortion, you can get up and go to this state. And she said, well, then here she comes with this. Suppose they don't have the money. Mm-hmm. I guess you can't do it. I don't have the money for a Ferrari. I can't do it. Okay. Plenty of people are sleeping in tent cities tonight. They don't have the money for a home. They can't do it. So what are we supposed to do? Start addressing every little minute, situation here. You've got choice. Isn't that what you wanted? But they want to continue to use this as this wedge issue when 99.5% of women are not affected by it.